ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಇದೆಯಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ? ಸೊ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ. Philosophy is not a subject, is a subject not based on reason but intuition. So underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. Philosophy is a subject not based on reason but intuition. It starts not from doubt as most of the Western philosophers hold but from wonder. ಇದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆನಲ್ಲಿ. Because these are the first two sentences in search mark philosophy. So they'll ask you, philosophy starts from doubt or wonder. Answer is wonder. Generally, philosophers have attempted things before actually going into the life of practice, as is commonly the case with the Western philosophers. I may say it is not certain that a philosopher being a philosopher cannot be corrupted or degraded. But there is no possibility of corruption if he had studied things by leading a practical life. Underline that. The importance of practical life, leading a practical life. When you lead a practical life, the chance of corruption is very nil, almost minimal. ನಮ್ಮ ಸೇಜಸ್ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ, ದೇ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ attempted think practically. They did not speculate at the level of the mind. They went into practicality. And that's what differentiated Indian philosophers versus Western philosophers. Sages in India have generally attempted philosophy by first going into the life of practicality. That's the approach. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿಲಿ ಮೋರ್ ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್, ಲೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಾಲಿಟಿ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮೋರ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಾಲಿಟಿ ದೆನ್ ಲೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್. So whatever you then write or expound, it is based on your practical experience rather than just theoretical speculation at the mental level. They have opened the secrets of existing things as far as they could do at their level of advancement. ಅದು ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. So each sage progressed to a certain level of advancement. From that level, whatever they could see as a reality, that they expounded during the writings. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಋಷಿಯಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಋಷಿಗೆ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಬರೆಯೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇದೆ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಹೌ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ರಿಯಾಲಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ಪೋರ್ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಬೈ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ sages, because each one evolved to a certain level of advancement. From that level of a see, for example, if somebody goes to sixth floor and looks down, they look at reality in a slightly different way. They expound it that as the reality. If somebody goes to seventh floor and look down, they look slightly different picture. They expound that as a reality. So that is what has happened in India. Whatever is the advancement to that extent, from the you that you get from that level, you actually talk about that as the reality. This is what happens. Okay, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ people have talked about cosmic intelligence as the highest. People have talked about Brahmanda Mandala as the highest. People have talked about Brahman as the highest. People have talked about Parabrahman as the highest. People have talked about moksha as the highest. People have talked about liberation as the highest, mukti. People have talked about universal consciousness as the highest. People have talked about sakara God as the highest. People have talked about nirakara God as the highest. People have talked about reality as the highest. You have n number of people talking about n number of things as the highest. So everyone will get confused. Right. That is one of the reasons why philosophy or spirituality is a kind of hard nut to crack initially, because you don't have any of these conceptualizations. And then you will just be kind of going around and reading so many books, and then you are not able to kind of, you get lost in the maze, so to say. You don't have one clear cut view. Oh, this is what happens, this is what happens after this, and this is where it leads you. And at each stage, these are the experiences that you pass through. So that clarity people did not have. Spiritual anatomy gives you that clarity. That is the reason why you have that importance of spiritual anatomy in the context of all the other philosophical or spiritual books that we've had from the past. No other book gives you as much clarity. Now, you cannot say that whatever is written in spirituality is the final. Because even in spirituality, it's very difficult to put all conditions in a book. There are so many conditions that we pass through depending on our background that we come from, and our sensitivity and our samskaras. So, spiritual anatomy also gives you a fair idea regarding some of the conditions that you pass through. Okay? So, remember, they are like templates, goalposts, but you have so many combinations of conditions that you pass through. Conditions are innumerable, so to say. Okay? ಏನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಿತ್ತ ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ? ಏನೋ ಕೈ ಎತ್ತಿದೆ? ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್.
ಪ್ರಿಯಾ ಅವರೇ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀನು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಸರಿನಾ? ಪ್ರಿಯಾ ಅವ್ರು ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಹೊರಟಿದ್ರ ಅಂತ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಗಾಟ್ ರೆಡಿ ಟು ಲೀವ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ವಿ ಕಾಟ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ಟೈಮ್, ರೈಟ್? She was probably going for outing. I think we caught hold of her and said that there's a reading session at 7:30. So she was in a dilemma what to do. So she thought, let me get ready, sit for the class. Then immediately, once it turn off, I'll just go. That's what she's planning. ಆಯ್ತಾ? So Sunday is like outing time for her. PG ಇದ್ದು ಬೋರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. We'll get bored. We'll just be in a small place in PG, you know. So throughout the course of the week, you are seeing the same people, same environment in the PG. So you just require some kind of break from all those things. You went to the ashram today? Which ashram? Parandam, no? So what was the breakfast?
Pongal vada.
Again Pongal. Better that we went to R.R. Nagar. Gopal Krishna, you should be happy and thankful. ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ್ ಒಬ್ಬಟ್ಟು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟ. ಅವ್ರು ಒಬ್ಬಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ತರಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಐ ಡಿಂಟ್ ನೋ ಒಬ್ಬಟ್ಟು ತರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಇನ್ಮೇಲೆ ನನ್ನ ಕೇಳುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳಿ, ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು ಅಂತ. ಅಲ್ವಾ ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್?
ಹಾ ಸರ್.
ಅಲ್ವಾ?
ಓಕೆ.
ಸರಿ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋಣ. No, I didn't know that they were coordinating the Tindi also, the breakfast. I thought each one will be doing their own stuff. So I'm a bit surprised to hear that both the ashrams have Pongal. So life of practicality. Now that is what you are actually leading. That is what you are learning in spirituality. You are actually leading the life of practicality and learning by experience. When you lead a life of practicality, you learn by experience. Now, reading the book and other things is supplementary to the life of practicality. The primary thing is life of practicality. Sarina. Now, that's very, very important. When people approach spirituality from the perspective of theory, they will not go anywhere. They are stuck. So, spirituality always has to be approached from the purview of practicality, where the books are supplementary to that practice. Books are not primary. Books are secondary. Practice is primary. Sarina.
Uncle,
Learning to observe oneself is very, very important. And that is what you learn in spirituality. The more you observe yourself, the more you actually learn from your own experience.
by practicality, do you mean implementational learning? That ನಿಜ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಕಲ್ತಿರೋ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಿಂದ ಯು ಡಿರೈವ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಾಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಡಿಫೈನ್.
Practicality ಅಂದ್ರೆ there are different systems which give you different practices. Now, whichever system you follow, you practice that diligently. The system, the practices in that particular system, you follow diligently. Now, when you follow the practices in a particular system diligently, it has an impact on your life, real life. And those changes that you actually perceive or undergo in real life, that is your learning because of the practices. So that is a practical life. So the outcome, they have opened the secrets of existing things as far as they could do at their level of advancements. That underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ, because each one advanced to a certain different level. Now we have the outcome is the 6 schools of philosophy in different hues. If everyone had advanced to the same level, then you will not have 6 schools of philosophy. Correct? Because everyone will look at the reality in the same perspective. But since different people evolved to different levels, they had 6 different schools of philosophy. Shad Darshana ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Hinduism ನಲ್ಲಿ it is called as Shad Darshana. Shad Darshana, Shat means 6. Darshana means views of reality. Sahaj Marg is supposed to be the 7th Darshana. That's what Vardacharya describes Sahaj Marg as the 7th Darshana, which is far more different and evolved than the other 6 Darshanas. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಬಟ್ ಆ 6th ದರ್ಶನ ಓದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಬೇಜಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಓದಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಫೀಲ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ದೋಸ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಯು ಫೀಲ್ ದಟ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಸಹಜ ಮಾರ್ಗ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದೋಸ್ ದರ್ಶನಸ್ ಡಸಂಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಆಲ್ದೋ ದೇ ವರ್ ಆಲ್ expounded based on the practicality of the person who actually led that life. So if you are interested, you can look at what are the 6 darshanas and what are the things that they have actually expounded in those 6 darshanas. Although it might not be very useful for your practical life, but if you are interested in learning the basis of those 6 darshanas, you can do that. Then it's more like for the sake of completion, to know more about Hinduism. Sarina? We should always attempt the expression of things when our practice or abhyas is over. Underline that. We should try to expound things or express things when our life of practice or abhyas is over. This is the key point for the philosopher to note in order to achieve the accuracy of things. ಇದೇನದು ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆಯಾ, ವೇಟಿಂಗ್ ರೂಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಇದೇನಿದು ನೀವು ಸರ್ವಾಂತರ್ಯಾಮಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ಯಾ?
ಸರ್ ಅದು ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಹೌದಾ?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್.
ಈಗ ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ನೀನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾಂಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೆ, ನೀನು ಫೋನಲ್ಲೂ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾಂಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರೆಯ.
ಇವಾಗ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ನೀನು ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಡ, ನನಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊ. ನಿನ್ನ ದಿವ್ಯ ದರ್ಶನವನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸು.
ಅದೇ ಸರ್, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರನೇ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿ.
ಹಾ, ಈಗ ಬಂದ್ಯಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಗುಡ್. ಅಂತೂ ಈಗ ದಿವ್ಯ ದರ್ಶನ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತು ನಮಗೆ. ಹಾ, ಯಾಕೆ ಫೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ವ ಫೋನಲ್ಲಿ? ಫೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ
ಸರ್
ವಿಡಿಯೋ?
ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಇಯರ್ಫೋನ್, ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಇಯರ್ಫೋನ್. ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅದು ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಇಯರ್ಫೋನ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಇಡಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಏನೋ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಾಲಿಟಿ ಅರ್ಥವೇ ಆಗಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಝೆಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನು ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, XY Z ಎಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್. ಆಯ್ತು, ಇನ್ನು ಏನೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಅವನು. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಸರಿ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ದ ಹೋಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುಯಾಲಿಟಿ. ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುಯಾಲಿಟಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಇಫ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುಯಾಲಿಟಿ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟೇ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಸೊ ಯಾರು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಇಫ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುಯಾಲಿಟಿ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟೇ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. If you want money, go outside India. But even that will become available more and more in India in the next 20 years. So even for the sake of money, you don't need to go out. You will get more and more in India. So not to worry about it. But if you get more and more money, you also need to give more and more. That's also important. ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇವತ್ತು with war situation, war will actually be very useful for India to evolve to the next pedestal. War is nature's way of bringing India. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ಇಬ್ಬರ ಜಗಳ, ಮೂರನೇವನಿಗೆ ಲಾಭ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅದೇ ನೇಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಇಂಡಿಯಾನ ಮೇಲಕ್ಕೆ ತರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ಕಡೆ ಜಗಳ ಆಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಬ್ಬರ ಜಗಳ, ಮೂರನೇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಲಾಭ. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಡಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಡ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇನ್ ವಾರ್, ಶಿ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಅಪ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ anyway, so India is, that will never change. India is a special child of God. Because India is the land of spirituality. God has chosen India as the land of spirituality, and that will remain the same till the end of this yuga. So till the end of this cycle, India will remain the land of spirituality. That will not change. So now careful. And as such, the pursuit of the real has been active here in all ages. Spirituality is a sign concerning the power which flows from the original repository and has the capacity in the form of knots, both for creating and destroying. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. What is spirituality? It is a science concerning the power which flows from the original repository and has the capacity in the form of knots to construct and destroy. The sages in India have used the power of creation for the reformation of humanity. The destructive power too is found in abundance, but that even the atom bomb is nothing in comparison. The yogi uses these things according to the divine command and his willpower. So underline that. Yogi uses these things, the powers of nature, according to the divine command and his willpower. Now you might wonder, what will happen to willpower? Can you actually override the power of nature occasionally? Yes, a yogi has that ability to override the power of nature. In exceptional circumstances, the yogi can override the power of nature. Right? So that will come to those exceptions. Right? Priya wanted to ask anything? You raised your hand like this and now then kept like this. ಪ್ರವೀಣ್ ಇಸ್ ಟೂ ಮಚ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ ಯು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬರದೇ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಪ್ರವೀಣ್. ಅವ್ನು ಪ್ರವೀಣ್ ಒಂದು ಫೋನ್ ಹಚ್ಚಿರಿ ಯಾರಾದರೂ, ಸಾಕು ಮಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಆಟಾಡಿದ್ ಬಾ ಅಂತ. ಯಾವ ನೋಡಿದ್ರು ಮಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಆಟ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅವ್ನಿಗೊಂದು ಫೋನ್ ಹಚ್ಚಪ್ಪ ಗೋಪಾಲಕೃಷ್ಣ. At present too, this power is being utilized and a new world order is being created. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ. A new world is being created where India will be at the center and spirituality will be the basis for the new world. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬಿಡ್ರಿ. ಈಗ ಅದೇ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. A spiritual renaissance must necessarily take place and India will again lead the world no matter how long it may take. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸೊ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಈಗ you can pat your back that you are born in India and you can also raise your collar that you are Indians. ಸರಿನಾ? Other countries have begun to realize that no nation can ever survive without spirituality. The age of diplomacy and stratagem is now passing swiftly. By the end of this century, a great change is bound to take place. Everyone should gladly welcome what is destined to befall and should come to the path of spirituality whereby his welfare is promoted. So, everyone should come to the path of spirituality. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಅದೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು. ನೀವು ಮುಂದಿನ ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬರ್ಬೇಕು. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಜಾಬ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಮೋರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೋರ್ ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಪ್ರೀ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್, ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್. ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ I am revealing here in the greatest philosophy. People may grasp it or not in the beginning, but in the course of due course of time, they will surely begin to realize it as such. So, history of Sahaj Marg. Great men are not born accidentally. Great men andre when nature requires it, they are born. They are born when the world waits for them in eager anticipation or expectation. Such is the phenomenon of nature. India, the home of spirituality, was groping in darkness and had totally forgotten the age-old system of yoga. Solid materialism had taken the place of fine spiritualism. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. Materialism per se is solidifying and spirituality is making you refined. Dark clouds of ignorance were hovering all over. Yogic transmission had become quite foreign to the Hindus. At this stage, when spirituality was tottering helplessly, some great personality was urgently needed to set things right for the upliftment of mankind. It was in the auspicious day of Basant Panchami, 2nd of February 1873, on which the power of nature descended on earth in the human form of Samarth Guru Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj Fatehgarh in district Farrukhabad. 1873 ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ, 1973 ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. 1873 ಲಾಲಾಜಿ ಅವ್ರ ಬರ್ತ್ಡೇ, 1973 ರಘು ಅವ್ರ ಬರ್ತ್ಡೇ. ಎರಡು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ, ಬರೀ ಒಂದೇ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇರೋದು. The happy day, so beautifully ordained, coordinated with the most pleasant season of the year, breathed into every heart the blooming freshness of the spring. The blissful time ushered in by his advent introduced a new concept, new era of spiritual awakening, which promises a practical solution to the human problem of existence. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. It promises a practical solution to the problem of human existence. In other words, it gives you the context where human existence fits in the larger picture of the cosmos. ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲೋ ಭೂಮಂಡಲ ಇದೆ, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲೋ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಐಸೋಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಆ ಥರ ಇಲ್ಲ. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಬಿಗರ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುಯಾಲಿಟಿ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಯು ದಟ್ ಬಿಗರ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಇನ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್. ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಐಸೋಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಆನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅರ್ತ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಲೆಸ್ ಕ್ರೀಚರ್ಸ್, ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್. We are all interconnected to all the cosmos, all the universes. And we are at the center of it. In fact, humans are at the center of it. Human beings who are born in this earth are at the center of it. So if you are born in this Brahmanda, in this earth, in India, you are the luckiest. So although I see that very few people here have collars, I can shake the collars on behalf of all of you. Because you are all lucky. You don't know how lucky you are. You are born in this Brahmanda, which belongs to Master Cell. You are born in India. You are born as a human being. All the three are very much essential. Right? If you want to evolve spiritually, if you miss even one of these, then the evolution is pretty slow, so to say. We are struck with the reverent, joyful awe when we recall to our mind the grand renaissance brought about by him in the spiritual field. He offers a easy solution to the problem of existence, which has ever been confounding even to the greatest of the sages. So again, he brings back to the point. to the problem of existence. One of the things that we don't know is how do we fit in our existence to the larger existence of this universe. We don't know how these two are related. And that's something that Lalaji has made it very easy for us to experience and access and utilize it for our life. Right? That is what he does. The divine, he just gives a background now. This is the same thing is there in Sahaj Marg, this also, reality and non also. The divine's personality was born in a respectable Kayastha family. ಈ ಕಾಯಸ್ಥ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಬರೀತಾರೆ. Kayastha does not belong to four caste. It's a separate community in itself. The first Raja Yogi, he was also a Kayastha. Vivekananda was a Kayastha. So Kayastha is a kind of different community altogether, separate from all the four caste. ಸರಿನಾ? His childhood was influenced by his mother, a noble-minded, simple lady who spent most of her time in devotion and worship. It was due to her influence that he received inspiration at a very early age. The incident goes that one day while he was playing with his mates, some divine force aroused in him the feeling that he had not come for the purpose of that he had engaged in. He had to realize himself and to re-equip himself for the greater task ahead. Online ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. He had to realize himself and become equipped for the next task. The soul was awakened and he set into it in the right earnest. He attained perfection in only 7 months. Attained. Online ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. Attained perfection in only 7 months. Really an unparalleled example. There's no other person in the human history who attained perfection in 7 months. It's not even liberation. He attained perfection in 7 months. Right? Our Guru, Lalaji's Guru, was a Sufi saint. He was a Muslim. He was a Sufi saint. So, if you read Lalaji's biography, you will get to know. That's why Lalaji is also considered as a Sufi saint. The Sufis consider Lalaji as one of their gurus. I think 40th or 44th Guru in the Sufi lineage. So Lalaji is the only person who is considered as a guru by the Muslims also, the Sufi saints also, by Hindus also. So he was beyond all the religions. So he was accepted by both the communities. Since then, he devoted the whole of his life for the cause of spirituality. He is the Adi Guru of our mission. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. That is a question for your exam. Who is the Adi Guru of our mission? Lalaji. He was an embodiment of moderation, toleration, and devotion. ಇದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ exam ಅಲ್ಲಿ. With him dawned the new era of yogic training through transmission, of which he was the master. So Lalaji ಅವರಿಗೆ transmission ಮೇಲೆ he had so much expertise on transmission that he could literally use it in any way he wanted. So he was so adept at using transmission. So and Babaji got trained with him, and this duo, the combination of Babaji and Lalaji, their tango is what made this system possible. ಅಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಯಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಆ ವರ್ಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಟ್ಯಾಂಗೋ. ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋ ತಿಂತ ತಿಂತ ಟ್ಯಾಂಗೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅವಾಗ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಅದರ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್, ಬೋತ್ ಆಫ್ ದೆಮ್ worked so closely with one another that it made it possible for this system to be established, of which we are all beneficiaries. If they had not worked so closely, we probably would not have received the benefit that we are receiving. In a way, that close working is actually what created this possibility for us. Without that close working, the system would not have got evolved to this extent, neither which we would have received the benefit like we are receiving now. He was embodiment of moderation, toleration, and devotion. With him dawned the new era of yogic training through transmission, underlinement. So he was the master of it. He showed a way to bring a man to perfection in one life only, and even while leading a family life in the Grahastha ashram. So most of the people thought that if you want to evolve spiritually, you need to become a sannyasi. So he actually expounded it and said that even if you are leading a family life, within one life you can be brought to perfection. He used to say that troubles and miseries of Grahastha life are like penances and sacrifices for spiritual attainments. So he's giving you a clue. So those of you who feel troubled by the you feel troubled and you feel miserable during the Grihastha life, you need to look at it as penances and sacrifices for spiritual progress. So that should be the change in perspective. All the sufferings and miseries are an aid for your spiritual journey. They are not an impediment for your spiritual journey. So you have to change that perspective. Okay. He has simplified the method of spiritual training to a great extent and has adjusted it to suit the requirements of our time. With a high caliber and spiritual dignity, our great master, the Divine Light, devoted every moment of his life to the upliftment of humanity. He was, in fact, nature's prodigy, and his work in the spiritual field is beyond common conception. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. Very few people are able to really get to know the full impact of his spiritual work because it is still unfolding. Whatever you are now seeing, it is still unfolding of. We Daji talked about evolution of consciousness. And I was actually surprised to see that Lalaji was talking about evolution of consciousness in one of the dictations that he gave in 1944. He was talking about evolution of consciousness at that time. Now we are again bringing back that issue as a topic for discussion and for our learnings. So many of the seeds that we are actually seeing unfold was actually sown by Lalaji during his times. Right. The more you read about Lalaji, no, the more you actually become, what do you say, more and more surprised and flabbergasted by what kind of a person he was. ಆಯ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ದ ಮೋರ್ ಸರ್ಪ್ರೈಸ್ಡ್ ಅಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಪ್ರಿಯಾನು ಡಿಸಪಿಯರ್ ಆಗೋದು ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಡಿಸಪಿಯರ್ ಆಗೋದು ಆಯ್ತು ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ ನೀವು ಏನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾನಿಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಬಿಡದೇ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಿಯಾನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗಿದ್ರು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಏನೋ ಫೋನ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೆಡಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ವೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಮ್ ಅಟ್ 8:30 ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲ ವಿ ನೋ all youngsters, if you want to make a phone call, if you want to just go and have a cup of coffee, if you want to go and have a snack, you just turn off your video quietly, have something, and come back. I have seen Gopal Krishna do that. I have seen Yashas do that. I have also seen Praveen Mogre do that. Praveen Mogre is now deeply thinking, when did I do that? Anta. Praveen Mogre will turn off the video when he wants to play with his daughter. If he feels a bit, oh, I think I have had enough now, let me take a break ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಟರ್ನ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಗಳ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಆಟ ಆಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಮಗಳ ಹತ್ರ ಆಟ ಆಡ್ತಿದ್ದ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ 7:30 ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಅಂದಿದ್ದ, ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ, 7 ಗಂಟೆ ಹಿಂಗಂತಾನೆ, 7:30 ಮರ್ತೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಈಗ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವೆದರ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಸ್ ಆಬ್ಸೆಂಟ್ ಮೈಂಡೆಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್. ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆಚೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೆ, ಬರಕ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು.
ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲ ನಾವೇನು ಬೇಜಾರೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ನಿಂಗೆ ಖಾಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸ. ಬೇಜಾರೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಮಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಆಟ ಆಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಬಾ, ಮಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಆಡಿ ತಲೆಯೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆದರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಾ, ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ನಗು ಮುಖ ಹೊರಟೋಗಿದೆ, ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಸಿ ಐ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು ಒನ್ ಥಿಂಗ್, ವೆನ್ ಯು ರೀಡ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ರೀಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಜಾಯ್ಫುಲಿ, ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಮೋರ್. ತುಂಬ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಓದಿದ್ರೆ you will not pick up. You will read it, but you will not pick up anything. You always have to enjoy your reading. It should be filled with joy. ಆವಾಗ you will pick up lot of things. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸರಿ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸೊ his spiritual work is beyond common conception. His wonderful researches in this science have made human approach up to the highest limit in the least possible time quite possible and practicable. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. So he had done a lot of research in the spiritual field. He introduced an improved system of Raja Yoga, which later came to be known as Sahaj Marg. In fact, our 44-45 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ವರ್ಡ್ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸಹಜ್ ಮಾರ್ಗ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಲಾಲಾಜಿ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಇಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ ಸತ್ಪದ್. ಸತ್ಸಂಗೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೆಯೋರನ್ನ ಸತ್ಪದ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೆಯೋರು, ಪಾತ್ ಆಫ್ ಸತ್ಪದ್ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಕಾಲಕ್ರಮೇಣದಲ್ಲಿ ದ ನೇಮ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಟು ಸಹಜ್ ಮಾರ್ಗ್. After serving the masses for about 36 years, this spiritual genius left his material form at the age of 58 on the 14th of August 1931. The work he did during his lifetime is beyond conception, posterity will know his merits in due course. So Lalaji ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಬಾಬೂಜಿ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಕೈಂಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ, it is still evolving, it is still unfolding. So in the next maybe 1 or 2 centuries, more things will be known from what the work that these two people did during their lifetimes. Sri Ramchandra Mission was established in Shahjahanpur on the 31st of March 1945 after the name of this grace personality by me in his successor. Through his grace and slowly it is attracting the seekers of real from everywhere. Attracting the seekers of real, underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. That is what Sahajmarg promises. It promises you to take you to reality. That is the goal that we have in Sahajmarg. I'm happy that Master's grace is working in this respect and people are attracted to benefit from his grace. The system of Sahajmarg Sadhana, now followed by the mission, represents an easy and natural path for the attainment of the ultimate. Ultimate is the reality. Sahajmarg does not advise any cruder methods, which are hardly practicable in the routine life of man. Under the Sahajmarg system of spiritual training, the action of the senses is regulated in a natural way so as to bring them to their original state, just as it was when it assumed the human form for the first time. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. What do we do in Sahajmarg? The action of the senses is regulated in a natural way so as to bring them to their original state. Original state ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು? When we assume the human form for the first time. That is our original state. How the senses was at that time, we take our senses now to that level. That is what we are doing in our training. Not only this, but the lower vrittis which are working independently are subjected to the control of the superconsciousness. Now, hence, their perverse action is stopped. The next line is the higher centers come under the charges of the divine centers, and in this way, the whole system begins to get divinized. So, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ 3 level ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. The lower centers come under the influence of the higher centers. The higher centers come under the influence of the divine centers. So, the entire system is divinized. That is how we work. This is the model. Why was a need for another great soul like Babaji to descend while another great soul like Lalaji? Lalaji set the stage, but somebody had to build. So Lalaji set the stage. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ in nature, it is a work in progress. It was not like, see, there are many systems where there was one guru, after that there was no guru. That's not what is our model. Our model is going to continue for the next thousands of years. Lalaji has written about 116th guru who is going to come in this order. He has already written about it. This guru who is going to come at that time is going to be having some issues. We will deal with it at that time. So he has already written all those things also. He has written what are the kinds of issues that some of the gurus in this system will face in due course of time. ಅದನ್ನು ಬರೆದು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. So don't think that this is, it's like our, Shankaracharya Mat. You have 100 gurus, no? If you go to Shankaracharya in Sringeri, you will see the lineage of all the gurus from the time of Shankaracharya to what is the time now. Every guru and their time period is documented. Likewise, we will have the same thing in Sahajmarg also. So a lot of gurus are due to come in due course of time. Gopal Krishna.
But I got that question, and that totally is a straight on point. What I was focusing on probably was Lalaji, what happened on the eternity level, like the highest possible level, that Babuji was set at the highest position while Lalaji trained him to be so. So like, I didn't get that dynamics fully. Like not from the earth perspective. I get that there has to work happen here.
Generally, even at a higher level, at the higher level also, nature chooses who it wants to make a medium. So when Lalaji was given the opportunity, Lalaji put forward Babuji because he loved his disciple so much. He said that no, you please take Babuji as the medium for the nature's work.
So it was,
he put forward Babuji and then, sorry?
It was more of his disciple. Babuji was Lalaji's disciple from previous ages also, not only now on this earth.
That is not something that is enumerated, but the way that Babuji was born, they both were born in a very similar state. If you look at the their history at the birth time, at the time of birth of their current life, Lalajis and Babujis, they were all on both born in almost very similar circumstances. When I say circumstances, spiritual conditions. So, anyway, I think when we read the 1944 Whispers in due course of time, we will understand under what conditions or spiritual conditions both of these souls were born. Right. In fact, to the extent that they write, see, what is the highest epitome of love? When we think of love, Allah, in Indian history, what is the highest epitome? What can you think of as the highest, what do you say, love among two people? ಯಾವುದು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ?
Selfless. Selfless. Selfless love.
ಆ ಥರ ಅಲ್ಲ. Highest form of love between two people. In Indian mythology, what is the two people that you can think of?
Mother and child.
ಯಾರು?
Mother and child.
Mother and child. That is a general answer. I'm talking about specifics.
Guru Shishya.
Specific. They are all general categories. I'm talking about two specific individuals.
Radha Krishna.
Radha Krishna. Whenever you think of love as the highest level, Radha Krishna. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೋಡು ರಾಧಾ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಲವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ರಿ ಟು ರಾಧಾ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ರಾಧಾ. ವಿ ನೆವರ್ ಸೇ ದಟ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ರಾಧಾ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ರಾಧಾ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. Whenever we take of love as an epitome, at the highest level, we take Radha Krishna as the highest form of love. Babuji's and Lalaji's love surpassed that. There's a commentary about that also. Vivekananda makes a commentary about it. And somebody stops him from giving that commentary. Then Krishna says that yes, it needs to be noted. In the entire human history, nobody had loved another person so much. And this love between Lalaji and Babuji was surpassing that of Radha and Krishna also. So that is the kind of the closeness that they had. So nature brought Lalaji to create certain conditions to prepare the field. Then it brought Babuji next to set and build the next level. So that during both of these two people's time, the entire process of spiritual journey was transformed. And that is the method that we are now following. Right. So probably one person's lifetime was inadequate to build this system. So nature chose two souls in succession to work in tandem to build the system. Because it needed to build a system that is going to survive for the next thousands of years. So you cannot have only one person doing it. So all one person system just goes into decay over a period of time. You don't have, see how many people can actually look at the people who took over from Rajneesh. You don't know anybody after taking over from Rajneesh. How many people know about people who took over from Ramana Maharshi? Hardly anybody. How many people you can remember of people who have taken over from Vivekananda? Hardly anybody. So it is just that when the nature needs a particular system to evolve, it brings in 2-3 souls to work together to build up the system that can last for a long time. Each one soul in isolation can have some amount of impact, but it will not create a system that can fundamentally change the mankind. So the time of the need of the hour was that you require a system that can fundamentally change the course of the spiritual history of mankind. That was the need of the hour. So that was the reason why nature brought Babuji and Lalaji together to build up that system. Fair enough. I hope it makes sense. So it's not about just one man show. It's like a teamwork. So each guru who comes henceforth will go on building the next part of the process. And Sajmarg will evolve as it grows. It evolves in different ways to reach out to as many people as possible. Okay. So ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? Lower centers, the senses are brought under the control of the lower centers. ಆಯ್ತಾ? Senses are now functioning in their own way. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ನಾಳೆಗೆ ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಐಸ್ ಕ್ರೀಮ್ ತಿನ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. You don't even think. You go to the fridge and open and then eat ice cream because ನಾಳೆಗೆ ಸೆಟ್. The tongue said, I want ice cream. So Priya's sister will go and chuck ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ polar bear ಅಂಗಡಿ ಇದೆ. She'll go to the polar bear ಅಂಗಡಿ shop and then have one ice cream. Now that is the senses pulling her to go and eat ice cream. Now the sensors are out of tune with the lower centers. So what we do, we regulate the sensors, bring it under the control of the lower centers. We work on the lower centers, bring it under the control and influence of the higher centers. We work on the higher centers and bring it under the control of the divine centers. Then the entire system gets divinized. That is what happens in the end. ಸರಿ, ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೇಳಬೇಕಿತ್ತ ಪ್ರವೀಣ್? ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ಯಾ? ನಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಇದೆಯಪ್ಪ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಆಚೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೆ.
ನಿದ್ದೆ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾ? ಆಯ್ತಾ?
ನಿದ್ದೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆಚೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈರ್ಡ್ ಲುಕ್ ಇದೆ, ಸೊ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. Exactly, lower centers in the heart region. Correct. So the lower centers are in the heart region, higher centers are in the mind region, then the divine centers, then the central region. Central region, in fact, ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. Before Lalaji and Babuji came and talked about the central region and possibility of human beings going there and being in the central region while being alive, nobody had spoken about the central region. They had all spoken about it after having left the body, you can go evolve there. That's how it was actually expounded. So for the first time, Lalaji and Babuji together made it possible for human beings to evolve into the central region and go near the center even while being alive in this life here. So they are all new frontiers of spirituality which was opened up for mankind, which was never open in the history of mankind. So special features of Sahaj Marg. Whatever I say or write is on the basis of my own experience or anubhava, underline that. So life of practicality. Irrespective of what Shankara, Ramanuja or others might have said about their own. Everyone in this world wants peace. That means that realization is not his objective. In that case, he will only get peace and not realization. But if realization is the object, peace will automatically come in its wake. We should not only be after knowing what realization is, but also try to attain it as well. Underline. Most of the people want to know what realization is, but they don't try to attain that state. Our job is to attain that state as well. Generally, people think that it is difficult, may quite impossible to attain liberation in this very life. This, however, is a mistaken idea. Who knows, perhaps this very life of ours might be the last one, taking us towards liberation. Our master's declaration is that a sadhak can reach such a state not only in one and only same breath, but even within a shorter time if he is diligent worker and has got a real guide. So part of one life is sufficient to go towards liberation. You don't even require one full life. Part of one life. So if you really practice even reasonably, about 8 to 10 years, you should be able to reach the Brahmanda, which is the stage of liberation. With a capable guru, with a very good system that we have got, you should be able to reach there. So before Guru Prasad gets married, he should be a liberated soul. ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಮದುವೆಗೆ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ನನಗೆ ಇದು ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಆಯ್ತಾ? That is what Daji said when Daji had come to Bangalore ashram around 2018-19, I think 2018 probably. That's what he said, that we should start meditation at a young age by 15-16, and by the time we come to marriage, we should be liberated. A liberated soul attracts a different kind of a soul post marriage for baby. A different soul will come in as a baby when we are liberated already, and that's what wants Babuji Charian Daji wants. He wants a special generation of people who get babies after they have attained liberation, so that the next generation will be far more advanced. That's what he is looking at. That is the reason why Daji emphasizes a lot on the youth. That is also one of the reasons why the meditation was brought down, the age was brought down to 15. Earlier it used to be 18, then it was brought down to 16, and now it is 15. So we want a special generation to be born. And the pillars of the next generation will be you people only. Because you people are going to give us the special generation. These kids who are born to spiritual people, who are liberated people. And that is what is necessary. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? So just imagine when the parents themselves are actually evolved to a certain extent before the child is born, they attract a very high conditioned soul, very high level of soul, high vibrational soul. And if that generation comes in, Allah, that is one of the reasons why it is called as brighter minds. Brighter minds program ಅಂತ ನಡೀತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ one of the things is to just kind of demonstrate this possibility. But what we are looking at, there is a specific term that Daji used to describe this generation of people who are born to liberated souls in the next generation. There was, I can't remember the exact term. There was one term that he had used long time back. So, ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆ. When you people get married and have children, you can attract that kind of souls. Generally, liberated souls attract a very highly evolved spiritual souls for birth. And they can change the face of earth. And that is what Daji is kind of intending or working on. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ there is a program called as Divya Janani. So people who are married, who are not getting babies, they are given special training to have kids to attract a higher vibrational soul as a child, as a baby. So that is the program called as Divya Janani. Sorry. Anyway, coming up to 8:29, I think Priya is looking at the time and she is now so sad. What, this fellow is not leaving me. I had to go out. He's caught hold of me now. She is looking in so much sadness. I can feel the sadness here. I'll finish this paragraph and I'll let you go. Go and enjoy. Have a nice time. Okay. There is ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ನಾವು? This has proved also, but the proof is impossible to be given in words. Our experience alone can show it, that we can attain liberation within a part of this life. The popular belief that God can be sought for only in the midst of forest, as he is but a forest dweller, is vain and absurd. I believe that he can better be sought for in the midst of our own heart, but for that purpose the spirit of Spartans is necessary. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಲ್ಸೋಣ. I think let us not prolong our Priya sisters wait. So no problem. We'll stop here now. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow 8 o'clock we'll continue the same thing. Right? So Guru Prasad ಬಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ he is the one who chose the spiritual, the Sahajmarg philosophy. ಆಯ್ತು. ಗುರು ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಬಂದಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಲೀಡರ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಆಯ್ತು. He's taken the helm of leadership from all of you. Youngest of the lot.
How he came here today?
ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಯ್ತು? ಅವನ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಬಂತು, ಅಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡೋದ ಬೇಡವಾ ಅಂತ. Because some people had objection because of his age. He's only 17, turned 18 now, recently. So how can we approve an 18-year-old fellow for preceptor training anta? So there was
He's
a lot
from
of
Bidar.
discussion.
I know him.
So, sorry?
I know him.
Oh,
I
you
know
know
him.
him?
He's
Huh?
from Bidar.
Okay, good. So small world then. See, Praveen knows so many people. You should be careful who I'm bringing. First I have to check with Praveen, do you know him? And then bring him.
No, he's from Bidar. I
Yeah,
will definitely know him. Yeah.
correct. He is from Bidar only. So then the discussion came, and then they gave me the task of calling this fellow and then finding out his circumstances. So I called him. On I think Wednesday, Thursday, I called him. Then I spoke to him for a long time. And then today we had a meeting of all the SNP3 candidates in R.R. Nagar. So I asked him to come to that meeting. Since he did not have vehicle, I told our Gopal Krishna to pick him up. So he came, he was there, enjoyed the food nicely, sat for meditation. And after that, he came with us to play cricket also, enjoyed cricket also. And after that, he came home, and then added him to the group. Anyway, he's going to be part of the SNP3. So I thought, let him be part of our group, youth group. So that's why he ended up coming here today. So he'll probably enjoy. ಆಯ್ತು. ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಾದರೂ ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ತಲೆ ಬಾಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದು, ಎಂಜಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗದೆ ಇದ್ರು, ಖುಷಿ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಏನೋ ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿಲ್ವೇನಾ?
ಹಾ ಸರ್, ಖುಷಿ ಆಗಿದೆ.
ಗುರುಪ್ರಸಾದ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನು ಹೆಂಗಪ್ಪ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು ಅಂತ ಅವನು. when you put on the spot ಅಲ್ಲ, you cannot say no. ಸೊ ನೋಡಿ, ಬೀದರ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬೀದರ್ನವರೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈ ಸಿಗಾಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಕೈ ಸಿಗಾಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಬೀದರ್ನವರು. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಈ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಟೀಮ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಏನ್ರಿ ಪ್ರವೀಣ್ ಅವರೇ?